One hot summer afternoon in Arizona, Patricia Reynolds was watering the flowers in her garden while gazing up at the scorching sky. The thermometer read 110 degrees Fahrenheit. As the scent of sage and lavender wafted through the air, she could hear children's voices in the distance. Elementary school students were making their way home along the sidewalk that served as their regular route, carefully choosing the shaded areas to avoid the intense sunlight. "Hello, Mrs. Reynolds. Be careful on your way home, dears. It's especially hot today, so make sure you drink plenty of water." Patricia waved with a smile. The habits ingrained from her 35 years as a nurse came naturally, even in retirement. Caring for children's well-being had become an integral part of her life. After finishing her garden work, she wiped the sweat from her neck with a towel and returned to the living room. The setting sun gently illuminated photographs displayed on the white shelves by the window. One photo was taken just a year ago, right before her daughter Karen, son-in-law Brian, and beloved granddaughter Lily moved to England. Lily's bright smile still seemed to warm the room. Next to the photo hung colorful drawings that Lily had made. "Looks like she's made new friends over there." Checking Lily's social media had become part of Patricia's daily routine. She liked a photo of Lily with her friends, all wearing navy blue uniforms at their Manchester school. A slightly wistful smile crossed her face as she read the comment, "Had so much fun with our science experiment today." Due to the time difference, she would have to wait another 3 days for their regular Sunday video call. It had been 5 years since she lost her husband, George. The first year was hard. Spending time alone in a house filled with memories of her husband of 40 years had been more difficult than she'd imagined. But things were different now. Even at 64, Patricia led a fulfilling life. 3 days a week, she volunteered at Valley Presbyterian Church, reading to children. The kids loved Grandma's story time. She took pride in maintaining her garden and occasionally played piano at the nearby senior center. She had found her own kind of happiness in the quiet residential area of Paradise Valley, on the outskirts of Phoenix. That day, too, should have been just another ordinary afternoon. It was when she was returning home after finishing her grocery shopping at Fry's food store. She noticed a Paradise Valley Police Department patrol car parked in front of her white gate. 2 officers were waiting by the gate in the unbearable heat. "Mrs. Reynolds." The younger officer stepped forward. Sweat had soaked through the collar of his uniform. "Yes, that's me. Is there a problem?" Patricia responded anxiously, still holding her shopping bags. Though concerned about the ice cream melting, she straightened her back upon noticing the officer's serious expressions. "We have a young girl in custody for attempted shoplifting. She claims to be your granddaughter, Lily Mitchell." Patricia's mind went blank. "What? But there must be some mistake. My granddaughter moved to England a year ago. She lives in Manchester." "Yes, that's what she's telling us. Could you come down to the station to help us verify?" In her confusion, Patricia pulled out her phone and tried to contact her daughter and son-in-law with trembling fingers. But due to the time difference with England, there was no response. Frantically checking Lily's social media, she found a photo posted just an hour ago, Lily smiling with her friends in a Manchester school classroom. Patricia's thoughts hung suspended between reality and the image on her smartphone. Unable to hide her distress, Patricia accompanied the police to the station. The evening streetscape viewed from the car window seemed eerily different from usual. The reflection from the road still blazed intensely into the car. What on earth is going on? She recalled the family photo displayed in her living room. Then something struck her. Had she just imagined that Brian's expression in the photo seemed somewhat pensive? She remembered her usually cheerful son-in-law wearing an unusually rigid expression. Upon arriving at the police station, she found a girl crying in the waiting room. She sat hunched over in a navy blue uniform, her hair stuck to her forehead with sweat, breathing heavily. When she lifted her face, Patricia's heart nearly stopped. "Grandma, please help me." That voice brought Patricia's confusion to its peak. The girl before her looked exactly like Lily. Same age, same features. But she definitely wasn't Lily. There was something decisively different lurking in the depths of those eyes. During her time as a nurse, Patricia had encountered many children facing difficulties. Abuse, illness, separation from family. She had comforted children bearing various kinds of pain. From that experience, she couldn't miss the anxiety and loneliness dwelling in this girl's eyes. These weren't the eyes of a child who had merely played a prank or committed a minor transgression. Blood ties aren't necessarily everything when it comes to family bonds. That was a lesson deeply etched in Patricia's heart from her years as a nurse. Now, those words resonated with new meaning. The waiting room at Paradise Valley Police Station was so cold that the air conditioning stung her skin. In stark contrast to the scorching heat outside, Patricia sat down beside the girl. "Her name is Grace Wilson, 10 years old," Detective Jenkins began, looking down at his file. "She attempted to shoplift bread and juice from Fry's food store. When approached by staff, she gave your address and name." Patricia looked at Grace. The girl sat with her hands clasped in her lap, head bowed. The collar of her uniform blouse was damp with sweat. "Would you like some water?" When Patricia offered, Grace gave a slight nod. As she walked to the vending machine, Patricia's mind was in turmoil. Why did this child know her house? Why did she call her Grandma? And above all, why did she look so remarkably like Lily? Grace accepted the water with a quiet, "Thank you." The gesture was so similar to Lily's that it made Patricia's heart ache. "Grace, how do you know about my house?" The girl took a sip of water before hesitantly speaking. "My mom told me." "Your mom?" "Last month, she passed away." Grace's voice trembled. "Then I was put in a facility." Patricia's professional instincts told her the child was telling the truth. Yet she seemed to be hiding something more. "How did you get here?" "By long-distance bus." "The money?" "I found it among Mom's belongings." As they talked, an old envelope slipped from Grace's bag. When Patricia moved to pick it up, a photograph fell out. It was a photo from about 20 years ago. A young couple smiled at what appeared to be a college campus. The man was... Patricia's breath caught. It was unmistakably a younger Brian. "Mrs. Reynolds," a new voice called. A woman had entered the room. "I'm Martha Collins from Child Protective Services." Patricia came back to herself. She returned the photo to the envelope and explained the situation. Ms. Collins listened with an understanding expression. "Could I have some time to think about this overnight?" Patricia asked. "I'll come back tomorrow. I promise." Grace's eyes flickered with anxiety. Patricia gently squeezed the girl's hand. "It's going to be all right. I'll definitely come back tomorrow." After returning home, she finally managed to connect with her daughter and son-in-law in England. Patricia felt relief wash over her at seeing Lily's cheerful face on the video call. However, Brian seemed different from usual. "Dad, you don't look well," Lily said worriedly through the screen. "Just a bit tired, that's all," Brian forced a smile. After ending the call, Patricia picked up the family photo from the living room. She compared it with the young Brian in the photograph. Grace's eye color, the way she expressed herself, and that pensive profile she sometimes showed. Everything seemed to connect. During her nursing career, Patricia had encountered many family secrets. Everyone has parts of their past they can't share. What matters is having the courage to face the truth. The night deepened. When she closed her eyes, she saw Grace's anxious expression. The loneliness of a girl who had lost her mother and traveled alone to an unfamiliar place. Surely there was a greater truth hidden behind all this. She looked at the photograph again. What did Brian know? Or rather, what was he trying to remember? The clock showed midnight. Patricia stood up and began preparing for tomorrow. Her years as a nurse had taught her something. Sometimes life's biggest decisions should follow the heart's voice rather than logic. Tomorrow, she would return to the police station and meet Grace. And face the truth this child had been carrying. Her heart quietly told her this was the right choice. The next morning, as Patricia drove to Paradise Valley Police Station, the Arizona sunrise blazed through her windshield. She glanced at the brown cardboard box on the passenger seat. Inside were breakfast and a change of clothes she had prepared for Grace last night, along with an old album she had carefully preserved. When she arrived at the station, Miss Collins from Child Protective Services was already waiting. "Good morning. How is Grace doing?" She ate a little breakfast. It seemed she barely slept last night. Patricia took a deep breath before entering the waiting room. Grace sat in a chair by the window, gazing outside. She wore the same uniform as yesterday, but her hair had been neatly combed. "Good morning, Grace." The girl turned around, relief washing over her face. However, anxiety quickly returned to her eyes. "You really came back. I promised, didn't I?" Patricia sat down beside her and took out a small paper bag from the cardboard box. "You must still be hungry. I brought blueberry muffins." Grace accepted the muffin hesitantly, as if she wasn't used to such kindness. "Grace, did you find something about my house in your mother's belongings?" The girl nodded slowly and pulled out the old envelope from her bag. Inside were the photograph Patricia had glimpsed yesterday, along with handwritten diary entries and notes. "Mom." Grace paused, searching for words. "She wrote that she wanted to tell me the truth when I was older." Patricia nodded quietly, waiting for Grace to continue. "But when she found out she had terminal cancer, before I went to the facility, she told me everything." Grace's voice quivered. "About my father. And about you, Grandma." The notes contained Brian's name and Patricia's address. "Your father is Brian Mitchell. Patricia, who lives at this address, is his mother-in-law. I know she's a very kind person." Turning through the diary pages revealed memories from 20 years ago. Meeting Brian in college. A brief romance. Then separation. She had returned to her hometown without telling Brian about the pregnancy. "Mom talked about you until the very end," tears welled up in Grace's eyes. She said, "Patricia will understand." Patricia silently embraced Grace. The girl's body trembled slightly. You've been so brave, coming all this way by yourself. Just then, Miss Collins knocked and entered. Mrs. Reynolds, do you have a moment? The three of them held a discussion. Patricia offered to become Grace's temporary guardian. DNA testing was proposed. All procedures would be handled through Child Protective Services. That afternoon, Patricia called England again. This time, she requested to speak with Brian alone. Brian, do you remember someone named Lisa Wilson? A long silence followed on the other end of the line. From a literature class, 20 years ago, Brian's voice was hoarse. But she suddenly disappeared. A girl named Grace was just found in front of my house. She's Lisa's orphaned daughter, Patricia spoke gently but clearly. She looks just like you. Another silence. Then a deep sigh. I didn't know. Really, I had no idea. Brian's voice trembled. Is there anything I can? First, talk to Karen. And could you possibly return home soon? After ending the call, Patricia went out to the garden. The scent of sage and lavender drifted in the evening air. While watering the flowers, she contemplated what lay ahead. This new form of family wouldn't be an easy journey. But her experience as a nurse, facing countless families over the years, had taught her something. Healing wounded hearts takes time, love, and above all, the courage to embrace truth. Grace's anxious eyes at the police station. Lily's bright smile during video calls. The future of these two girls kindled hope in Patricia's heart. A week later, the DNA test results arrived, confirming everything Grace had said was true. Around the same time, word came that Brian and Karen had decided to return home immediately. Patricia had cleared a space on the living room shelf for a new family photo. It would mark the beginning of a new family story, woven with love and truth. Patricia was certain this would be one of the most beautiful decisions of her life. One morning a month later, the scent of butter wafted from Patricia's kitchen. It had been 2 weeks since Grace started school. This morning, she was making special pancake breakfast. Grandma, is this right? Grace brought over a bowl, her cheeks dusted with flour. Perfect, Patricia gently wiped the flour from the girl's cheek. You really do love cooking, don't you? Yes. I used to cook with Mom all the time. Grace's voice no longer carried the same sadness as before. She was learning to speak of memories more gently. Their shadows danced in the steam rising from the griddle. Outside the window, the Arizona morning sun illuminated the lavender in the garden. A new life had been added to this familiar scene. It's Sunday. Time for our video call with Lily and everyone. Grace's hands paused momentarily. A hint of nervousness still lingered. Last week's first call had been awkward. The sisters, meeting through the screen, couldn't hide their surprise at each other's appearance. But by the end, they had bonded over their shared love of the same manga series. I borrowed The Promised Neverland from the library, the one Lily mentioned. Grace's face brightened. Really? Thank you. After breakfast, they sat on the living room sofa. As Patricia powered up the laptop, she reflected on the changes of the past month. Brian and Karen's emergency return. The initial meeting filled with bewilderment and tears. The long family conference after the DNA test provided definitive proof. Karen had shown a complex expression at first. But when she saw Grace's lonely back, her maternal instincts must have awakened. We want to be your new family, she had said, embracing Grace with warmth Patricia would never forget. Brian was consumed by guilt. "If only I had known sooner," he repeated countless times. But Grace never blamed him. "Mom said, it's nobody's fault," she told him, leaving Brian speechless with emotion. The legal procedures were still ongoing: Grace's custody, school transfer, and arrangements for future family relationships. But the most important part, the emotional preparation, was gradually falling into place. "We're connected." Grace's voice brought Patricia back to the present. The screen showed Lily's smiling face in England, Manchester's cloudy sky visible in the background. "Grace, did you read this week's The Promised Neverland? It was amazing." "I'm still in the middle, no spoilers." As the girls' conversation flowed naturally, Patricia watched from a slight distance. On the screen, Karen and Brian were smiling too. In 2 weeks, Lily would return temporarily for Thanksgiving, their first holiday as a complete family. "Hey, everyone," Karen spoke up. "I have some good news." All eyes turned to the screen. "My work in Manchester will wrap up next spring. And we've decided to move back to Phoenix." Grace caught her breath. Lily shouted, "Yes." "Grace," Brian spoke gently. "From now on, we'll all live together as a family." Patricia saw tears glisten in Grace's eyes. But these were different from before, they were tears of happiness. That afternoon, Patricia was tending to the garden. Grace helped her plant new flowers. "Grandma, what flower is this?" "Blue sage. It's a strong flower. It blooms beautifully no matter the environment." Grace inhaled the scent of soil and quietly said, "Just like Mom." Patricia hugged her granddaughter. The words she had learned as a nurse now resonated with new meaning: blood ties aren't everything in family bonds. At dusk, they hung a newly purchased frame in the living room. It contained their recent family photo, Grace and Patricia, along with Karen, Brian, and Lily joining through video call, all smiling. Perhaps not a perfect picture, but one that told their story perfectly. That night, Patricia wrote in her diary, "Life sometimes gives us unexpected gifts. If the police hadn't come that hot summer day, we would never have found our precious family member. It takes time for wounded hearts to heal. But if you have the courage to face the truth, new happiness always awaits. Now our home has a new smile. Like a gift from heaven." Outside the window, the Arizona stars watched over their new family story with gentle light.